I gazed at the buffet of petite filet and lobster tail and thought to myself, wait, is what I do good for people? In today's video, I'm pulling back the curtain on 5 ways the financial services industry misleads people every single day. I've been a financial advisor for 13 years, and as you can see from my lack of hair, I'm not exactly a spring chicken. I got into this profession later in life after selling a successful business, so already I feel like I understood the way of the world, I thought. But when I stepped into the financial industry, I saw things that really shocked me. Practices that genuinely turned my stomach. Not small scale stuff either, but bigger problems with how the industry operates. The truth is, a lot of what happens behind the scenes prioritizes profits over what's in the best interest of clients. And at the end of the day, I'm just like you. Yes, I help people plan for retirement as a profession, but I also want to make good decisions for myself. I want to be happy. I want to finish this journey well and enjoy life to the fullest. And I want the same for you. That's why it's so important to shed light on these practices and what you can do yourself to make good decisions. Let's get started. Ever see a commercial on TV for something financial and wonder just who benefits from this stuff? You know that everyone in the financial services industry gets paid based on what you do with your money, right? Not exactly breaking news. And the problem isn't that people earn money. It's that the incentives aren't always aligned with what's in the best interest of your situation. When I started in this business, I did really well, really quickly. Maybe it was my weathered look, my firsthand understanding of things like the dot-com crash in the early 2000s, or the Great Recession. Or maybe it was just, as my wife once said, that I possess a dollop of charisma and a teaspoon of intelligence. Whatever it was, I got off to a really good start. By my second year, I was rewarded with a luxury trip. Jill joined me at a stunning resort with luxurious accommodations and lots of filet and lobster tail. But the whole time, I couldn't shake one thought. If they're treating us this well, how can this possibly be good for our clients? I mean, they paid for everything. And I remember sitting by the pool and overhearing a guy talking about the same thing. He was laughing about it. Then he ordered another beer. This feeling has always stuck with me. While there are many advisors who genuinely do great work for their clients, me being one of them, I think, the system itself often creates conflicting agendas. It's not that you necessarily make more money when you sell products like annuities or mutual funds, but you certainly get paid faster. And when cash is king, some advisors might steer clients towards choices that help keep the lights on rather than your best interest. So our first lie refers to agendas and the notion that everyone has the same goals. There are conflicting agendas, and the system is really designed to reward sales, not service. So what can you do? Well, I start every client relationship with either a retirement plan or hourly consulting. I'm paid directly for advice with no hidden agendas or commissions. It's clean, transparent, and aligned with your goals, not mine. I suggest you look for the same. And if you need my help, my info is in the description. Now, let's move on to something more contentious than Cubs versus White Sox, red versus blue, or even can you put ketchup on a hot dog? A few years ago, a new client came to me with an annuity he'd purchased a decade earlier. He had no idea how the annuity worked, what it was invested in, or why his returns were so low. When we dug into the details, we discovered that the advisor who sold him this annuity had chosen a crediting strategy that was inappropriate for the current needs, and it hadn't been updated in years. This brings me to a lesser known issue: how annuities grow over time and who's responsible for managing them. For this example, let's focus on fixed index annuities, which are designed to provide risk-free growth. You can't lose any money, but you also might not make much depending on how the insurance company's strategies perform. So here's the problem. Insurance companies offer a variety of investment strategies within these annuities. Some are better than others. But the real question is, who decides what adjustments should be made to these strategies over time? The truth is, the advisor who sold you the annuity is likely too busy to reinvest your investment choices 5 years down the line. They're focused on new clients or teaching classes or hosting dinner seminars. Reviewing old accounts doesn't generate income, so it's really not a priority. Even worse, insurance companies don't provide clear guidance. They'll say things like, if stocks are going to do well, use this strategy, or if bonds do well, try this one. but they won't commit to a specific recommendation, and this leaves you and your advisor in a confusing no man's land. So the second lie is that insurance products are always good for you. They can be, but it's complicated. Personally, I don't recommend annuities much anymore, but when I do, it's only when there's a guaranteed outcome. Here are a few I'd consider. MIGAs are multi-year guaranteed annuities. They're like CDs, but from an insurance company. They offer a fixed, guaranteed rate of return. There's also principal protection type annuities with very clear metrics on how they grow. For example, let's say the S&P 500 goes up 15%. You get half of that with no chance of losing money. These are situations where you can clearly see how the outcomes are determined. Or income annuities. These provide a guaranteed stream of income for life. And I want you to bear with me for a moment on these income annuities because the monthly income they generate can be a fabulous option for people. What you want to look for is what is the guaranteed payout, period, end of story. When I calculate this number for my clients, I share it with them. Either it makes sense or it doesn't. That's not really up to me to decide. The point is I want certainty on that number. So if you're considering an annuity, focus on these guaranteed options. They're straightforward and they avoid much of the confusion. I have a quick favor. If you like this video, please hit the like button or leave a comment. It's great feedback. I might as well make videos that people want, right? Okay, let's get to the third way the industry misleads people with a quick story. One of my clients, Lisa, came to me completely overwhelmed. She read an article online that said she needed $1.5 million to retire, but she only had saved $900,000. She was panicking, thinking she'd never be able to stop working. But when we looked at her expenses, it turned out that she only needed about $40,000 per year to cover her lifestyle. With Social Security and her savings, she was more than fine. She wanted to live her life differently, but she wasn't. And that's on my mind these days because recently both my in-laws passed away over a 10-month period. They were like second parents to me. Plus, they created the only female that looked in my direction in high school, which helped me be somewhat normal in life. My dad has struggled with dementia for many years. We simply don't know what the future holds. And you've probably heard this before. You need $1 million to retire, or $2 million, or $500,000, or $20 million, whatever the numbers, it's all nonsense. So why does the industry perpetuate this stuff? I believe it's because they want your money to stay invested. They stop making money when you start spending your money, which is exactly what your nest egg is for. So this third lie is the absurdity that there is some magic number needed to retire. Retirement is about understanding your expenses and how to fund them. A couple living modestly in a small town will need far less than someone with a high maintenance lifestyle in a major city. Add in variables like Social Security, healthcare costs, pensions, and personal goals, and you'll see why there's no one-size-fits-all solution. The bottom line, focus on what you spend, not just what you have. That's how to enjoy your retirement to the fullest. Now, for that to happen, your money has to be invested properly. A quick math lesson will help you understand the fourth lie. For this exercise, we'll use an example from one of my favorite books, The Capitalist Lament, How Wall Street is Fleecing You and Ruining America. I'm asking you to start with $100 and experience the following annual returns. Year one, you have 48% increase. Year two, you have a 35% decrease. Year three, a 15% increase. And year four, a 12% decrease, all over the board. If you average these percentages, the arithmetic return is 4% per year. You think your balance grew about 16% over 4 years. But in reality, your ending balance is 97.35, which is less than what you started with. This is a scenario that was experienced by some friends of mine, a retired couple who had invested in high-risk mutual funds with above average returns. When we looked at their actual portfolio, their balance hadn't grown much at all. The fund's volatility had eroded their gains, leaving them frustrated and confused. To understand why, we have to go back to our example. They were relying on average returns, but that's not how the math works. The real story is these chained returns because they account for compounding and volatility. So the fourth lie is in how returns are shared. You can't rely on averages when evaluating investments. And the industry, they'd love to highlight all these arithmetic returns because they look better on paper, but they don't reflect what you actually experience. The lesson here is simple. Be wary of flashy performance numbers. Consistent, steady growth beats wild swings every time. That tortoise always wins. Let's finish this video with more conversation about investments. I'll start with another question. Ever wonder how mutual funds with stellar track records make it to the spotlight? The answer lies in a practice called incubation. A client of mine once insisted on investing in a 5-star fund because of the stellar performance. But within 3 years, the fund had lost its edge and its returns dropped significantly. This happens far too often because flashy track records rarely translate into consistent results. And studies back this up. A Wall Street Journal analysis found that out of 248 5-star funds in 1999, only 4 retained their rating 10 years later, a dismal 2% success rate. Yes, that was many years ago, but trust me, nothing has changed. And the takeaway is don't chase the hot hand. History shows it inevitably cools, just like when you're on a hot streak in Vegas. So what's happening exactly here? Well, Jack Bogle, the late founder of Vanguard and a pioneer of index investing, he explained it best. A firm will start 5 incubation funds and try to shoot the lights out with all of them. Of course, they don't with 4 of them, but they do with 1 usually. So they drop the other 4 and take the one that did very well public with a great track record. So for every fund offered to investors, many others are quietly tested behind the scenes where nobody sees them. Those that fail are shut down while the successful ones are marketed with a glowing track record. Investors are led to believe these funds are consistently high performing, but they never see the graveyard of the failed experiments. That's our final lie. The good performance has already taken place. So what do? Here's what I do. I invest in the indexes or something called structured notes, which perform based on the indexes. In my 58 years, 40 as an investor, I've been burned too many times on some experts' rosy predictions. All right, let's summarize. To be smart, you have to know the game. If these practices aren't outright lies, they're certainly deceptive. Here's a quick recap. Conflicting agendas. Advisors may steer you towards the products that benefit them more than you. Insurance products. Yes, annuities can be valuable, but only if you understand how they work. The magic number myth. Focus on your spending needs, not arbitrary benchmarks. Misleading returns. Pay attention to chained returns or how it performs over time, not the averages. And finally, the mutual fund industry. Do not fall for selective track records. If you're ready for clear, unbiased advice, I'd love to help. Whether it's a comprehensive retirement plan or hourly consulting, you can schedule time with me by clicking the link in the description. Let's build a retirement that works for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.